Welcome back to Bullshit Creepypasta Storytime, where it's the final days. Not of the month. There's still more weeks and more videos to go. But the story is quite literally called The Final Days. So yeah, in that regard, it is the final days. So, let's just hop into it. Continue the spooky finger puppet ghost month train with the final days, a Zelda Majora's Mask creepypasta that probably isn't very good if we're being realistic. I denied it at first. Hell, we all did. It was a simple idea. Scout out the valley, look for prime locale to build, and report back. It was a large and desolate place. To be honest, I hated it. I can't stand large, desolate areas. Very irritating. Being there was so suffocating. It was large and desolate. What's suffocating about that? It's the opposite. There's so much not here. It's suffocating. I had heard about the bloody history of the area as a child, though. Oh no. It was so desolate. That's the bloody history. Yet they didn't really like to teach that in our schools or social studies. That was something most children shouldn't have to learn about, like math. There was just an awful, eerie aura to the place. It was said that the spirits wandered the land, mourning their bloody sacrifice. I thought it was horseshit. That's setting off a red flag, I hope. But after arriving very quickly, I got the distinct feeling that there was something else, something older than us amongst the ancient stones and structures. Perhaps this was not, in fact, horseshit. I was young, though. My father was the real head of the project anyway. It wasn't a month past my 17th birthday that I had reluctantly agreed to go with him to the valley. The project was a bit bizarre. My father was the best architect in the land, though, and loved challenges. Loved them. So he took up the project very quickly. Wow, that sounds like very smart I'm going to base all of my business decisions based on challenge alone and challenge only. Yes. It appeared we were building some sort of tower, a sort of testament to our providence. Okay. What I was told was we were rejecting the times of old and moving on. Expanding and ascending. Manifest destiny. Those words always stuck with me, especially manifest destiny. Mocking me. Expanding and ascending. Essentially, we were building some sort of staircase to heaven. Are you sure? It's not a great idea. It's not. I don't know how realistic that is. Not to break the fourth wall here. It was supposed to be a light on our scientific achievement and advancement. Look, we built stairs. They went up and up and up. We haven't found anything yet, but, they're nice stairs. Blaspheming the old gods and dropping our old legends. Dad believed that this was a golden opportunity to shine. Being the idealist he was, the fool. I disagreed, but I wasn't completely sure why. I make decisions. I'm not completely sure why. It seemed to me that this tower was almost a sort of mockery, a Colin mockery, to the very foundation we had built our civilization on. Drew Carey. Not even him, the original host. Like a rebellious teenager full of so much angst, we would build an idol to give the finger to the old gods and goddesses. That doesn't seem like a... I love challenges and also building fingers to the old gods and goddesses. Dad obviously disagreed and got everyone together to head out. We had no idea what we would find, nor did we ever believe we would walk into the Pandora's box that awaited us. Line. The valley was hidden deep inside the dried out landscape of our mountains and canyon to the west. We trudged through this arid land and made our way there, taking note of everything we could. There was a large graveyard tucked just below the path of the valley. Is this like the origin story of that giant skeleton thing that shows up? Someone's going to be upset at me for calling it that. Giant skeleton thing! But briefly we looked for the gravekeeper, but he was nowhere to be found. Regardless, we stopped there and camped out for the night. I couldn't sleep that first night. I laid there in my tent and listening at the strange rustling and whispering that was becoming more and more clearly audible outside. Don't worry about that. Go back to sleep. It'll make the story more interesting if you just go back to sleep. It sounded, though, almost as if something was moving. Something was outside that shouldn't be. To my shock, the next morning, I found out that almost everyone had heard noises all night. Everyone? Perhaps it was just a coincidence. Or everyone is real noisy sleepers. That day, we headed up the path and made our way to the valley. After about an hour's hike, we finally reached the edge, hot and exhausted. Before us, an enormous rock wall. It's exciting stuff. The other side of the valley, a small river, gave us a brief reprieve from the scorching sun. As we sent some men up the wall, go walk up that wall, do it. In an hour, the ladder was down, and that was a lot easier. And we were on the other side, a barren landscape before us. What a picture you're painting. It's so colorful. I'm picturing brown and gray. It's good stuff. And maybe fog, but that's not a color. Gray. I couldn't put my finger on it, though. What? The landscape? Couldn't. Well, I mean, you're asking too much. How big is your finger? But there was something off here. You could feel it. No, this would be I could feel it because you're writing this in the first person, Thomas. Saturating everything and everyone in this dingy, awful energy. I probably sound like the Nutjob Town Psychic in West District. You know them. I don't even know. I'm not even going to say their name. But it really was an uncanny feeling. Uncanny as X-Men. God, I hate that I popped. Well, actually, I don't hate that popped in my head. There were the ruins of what appeared to be a castle. It was amazing, really. It was all broken stuff. I thought it was neat. It dwarfed the surrounding landscape with this enormous shadow that only seemed to beckon us into it. I've read a little bit on the area, on the internet, I'm assuming, and I do recall hearing of an old castle ruins from a war-torn past. My father suddenly bolted across the area to an elevated piece of land. Did he do platforming to achieve that? I'm wondering. I'm genuinely curious. Also, when he jumped, did he say, huh? But elevated piece of land above the spring that fed the river below. And then he solved a puzzle. We all quickly followed behind him. As I ran up the hill, I passed by what looked like a well. Oh, well. I would swear on my life. I don't believe anyone who says that. As it fell behind me, I heard the sounds of moaning. Ew. The hair on the back of my neck darting up as I approached my father. You're not helping. He would turn us turn to us. I'm sorry, there's something wrong with my brain, legitimately. And tell us this is where it will be. This wide expanse into the mountains would be the future location of, and in quotes, the towers. It was a creative name. I came up with it. We decided to further explore the location for the towers for the next few days. For the remainder of day 2, we scoped out the castle and took small notes on it. We considered taking it down so the tower wouldn't have any, and in quotations, structural competition. You wouldn't want the two buildings to get into a fight. Savvy business work. But we decided to keep it up because the broken castle just looks so nice with the tower. No. After all, it was a piece of history. And also, that's going to take time. We're like 4 people or something, maybe 5. No matter how bloody and dark the said history is, that doesn't necessarily mean you should keep it up. Let's remind us of that one time we were dicks. On the 3rd day, we discovered a path behind the clearing for the towers that, after hiking for a few hours, rhyming shit. Someone drop a beat. Discovering a small and simple cave system, we trudged on through it. It was only an hour, and we had come out at the other side of the gaping maw, none of that rhymed, of what appeared to be an endless desert. It really did seem infinite. I mean, it wasn't, it couldn't be, but it did seem it. With the blowing sands and hazy brown, look, I said the color brown. I think I did. That seemed to stretch out far beyond our horizon west. The heat from the sun and wind of Yuri was intense. But more than that, there was the strangest attraction to it. Look, don't go trying to make heat and the sun sexy, because you're never going to do it. It's hell. A beckoning, though, that made me want to go out into it. Well, while you aren't an author, you would technically be a main character. One could say you were the author's self-insert, which would make you dumb. So that plan actually makes a lot of sense if we're thinking about it from that perspective. I would swear that I saw something moving out there. Under the sands, pulsating and breathing. We all swallowed our draw. I don't like how that sounds. To the desert edge, as my father named it, the official namer of things, Dad. And returned to the building site. A few men returned to town to gather more people as father began to organize people. Say people again. For the long path ahead of us, he wanted the towers done as soon as possible. Women and children, come build a tower, please. For the next few days, we gathered and organized materials and men and also everyone else. We were going to begin building immediately. It was strange. My father seemed somewhat different. Everyone did. They all seemed almost in a craze. It's almost as if their characters aren't properly fleshed out. I don't know. That can't be the issue. But, they desperately wanted to get this done for reasons and stuff. I dismissed it as simple worker hype. Yeah, everyone, let's work! And see, it's hype. Sure you can. An intense ambition, driven by the kid-like spirit. They all had their work, yet deep down I would swear that there was more behind it. Creepy things and ghosts and stuff, and, maybe I'll buy a console and it'll be haunted and something. My father called me into his tent. On the sixth night, patting me on the head and saying, "My boy, you're haunted. Very soon, it all begins." I smiled and bowed my head. I couldn't help but feel uneasy. There were ghosts. No, there really was something ominous in the distance of all this. Ghosts. It was on the seventh night that it all seemed to reach the pinnacle. A man by the name of a Fear had stumbled back into the campsite. He was bloodied, beaten, and stammering nonsense. He was... What do you want from him? A few men woke me up as my father ran out with the others to help a Fear. He's a named character. We gotta help him. He was holding on to something on his chest. His shirt and leggings had large, gaping gashes in them. What did he run into? "What's going on here, a Fear?" My favorite secondary character, even though we just met you. "Where did you go?" my father asked, kneeling down in front of the stammering lunatic. He has a name. I had just realized he was leaning up against the wall of the castle, its shadow darkening all of us around him, swallowing us into its ancient infinity. Desert. In the desert, I got this. This, he said. Now, he was adding a lot of letters to his stuff. He's probably fine. Concussion, whatever. He said, looking down into the shape in his arms. Father reached for it, only to be lashed out at. "No, stay away. They see you. It walked out, so I, I got it. Now, we all get what we want." Yeah. Everyone looked around, not being able to understand when he was speaking another language. Everyone was very confused, and what the hell was he talking about? They know about it. The Guardians of the Galaxy couldn't keep her in. It's not everything needs a letter. But just then, the sound of a howl of the most peculiar nature roared out from across the valley. We all jumped. Whatever it was certainly didn't sound like anything we had ever encountered. I wonder if it's a giant skeleton thing. But they are angry. But they can't leave the desert, a Fear said. Then I told a Fear to stop talking. Standing up, he stared at us, blood all over the place. "Don't keep talking." His eyes, the expression in his eyes, was the most terrified expression I'd ever seen. He was a big man. Don't be mean. Not small by any means. Hey, watch it. But he looked like a scared child. "You're being a jerk," is what you're being right now. I immediately became fearful. At least you're honest. Whatever was going on here was far beyond what we were prepared for. He coughed up a small puddle of blood. We went for a swim. Falling down and collapsing, my father picked him up, looking at me with a very confused face. I leaned over and picked up the object in his hands. It was a mask, a Majora's mask. He had brought back a mask. Well, I'm sure this won't end horribly. It was purple. Yeah, well, there goes the reveal. And all sorts of orange and red patterns all over it. This could still be any mask. Oh, hold on. There are 3 spines sticking out on each side. It's probably that Pikachu-looking mask. Or the wolf, or whatever. As well as 2 coming out the top. Well, doesn't prove anything. What really got me were the orange eyes. There you go. They were wide. Yeah. Like a Fear's. Not wide with shock, though. They were wide with awareness. Alertness. They They were looking at me. Looking at us. It was hideous. Hopefully you said that aloud so it heard. This thing was the face of a monster. I knew right there and then that we probably shouldn't trust a thing that has eyeballs. Inanimate, it's evil. Can't trust that. That we shouldn't have this. This needs to go back to wherever it came from. To the moon. I stood up, my father standing up alongside me, as a few men picked up a fear. He took the mask. This needs to go. Let's go sell it, I said, and then he said, turning and walking out of the tent where fear was being taken. I ran up alongside him, pleading with him to let me take it back immediately. No, you are not touching this. Go back to your tent and get some sleep. There's nothing to see here. He replied. I couldn't argue with him. I didn't know how. I stood there in the moonlight, the castle, laughing at me. What? For real? In its silence. So it's a quiet laugher. Okay. The well in the distance, moaning strange and silent curses to us. Should board that off. I hated this place. That's a great end of the paragraph. This place sucks. I ran to the desert edge. No one had seen me go. I just wanted to know what it was. What that place was. I turned on my lantern and headed into the cave, somewhat fearful of what I was going to find. The desert, the guardians, and what is this she he keeps talking about, or they? Before I knew it, I stumbled out of the cave and onto the desert edge. It looked even more infinite. The Halo Infinite, with the black in the distance swallowing everything. I could feel a small breeze. Bone-chilling cold and piercing. This place, it seemed unreal. This place seemed like, it was a dream, like I was in a place I shouldn't be. And in parentheses, or not parentheses, close enough, I shouldn't have come. Well, been there. I whispered to myself, turning around. Just then, that howl, that horrific shriek. Not Sheik, that's a different character. We heard earlier echoed across this desert, straight into my ears. It was incredible. It rang deep into my bones. An angry roar that soared across space and time, creating an aerial dissonance that practically brought me to my knees. I jumped and ran back into the cave. Whatever was making that sound was out there. That is true. And it was indeed frustrated. I wouldn't use that word. Strangely enough, though, it sounded like there was more than one. Upon coming back to the campsite, I found my father and the other men gathered in the main tent. My boy, come here, we've got news, Father said, walking through the crowd over to me, the moonlight barely lighting a contorted face that frightened me. What had happened to him? To everyone? They all seemed so okay. I'm going to be honest, this isn't a very creepypasta. I mean, everyone's doing okay. And we're almost at the end. You know what? This is a pretty great couple of days for us. And I'm just overreacting. I'm main character. See you later, everyone. But anyways, everyone was doing real okay. And that was pretty scary. So sure that everything was going as planned. Completely ignoring the desert, the howls, the mask, and a fear. Well, who even liked a fear? I found it to be very inspiring. Who's saying that? His dad? He turned to everyone else who nodded. I've changed some of the textures. Sorry, of the design of the towers. The towers! To match the mask. You know, a tribute to that which was here before us. This mask with the eyes. Told me to. I didn't like the way he said that. He sounded almost fake. You're all phonies and conformists, and I am not going to stand for it. Main character. Whoa, what's going on? I said, breaking away from him and the crowd. His face wasn't very serious. All of theirs did. What? For Majora, son. I'm sorry. We're doing this for Majora, he said, looking over towards the site. Majora, it stung the air. When one muttered that name, I looked at everyone, then at my father. Whatever happened while I was gone, it had changed everyone. We would begin building the towers soon. The towers. And no matter what, I couldn't escape the mask. That thing, Majora. I returned to town the next day, leaving father, the project, and everyone else behind. I couldn't stay there, not with the reminder of what happened that night. Those idiots. To this day, decades later, in my dying years, I look to the west and see those things, those blasphemous idols. Father died years ago. I gladly continued his construction legacy. I thought you left. The best I could, the only way I could, remembering his old self. When he returned from the mountains those years ago, he had changed, silent, staring out into space. I would watch him and take care of him with my wife in his dying days. In the end, when he was on his deathbed, he called me to his side, a bizarre look on his face. He never said anything. He widened his eyes and stared at me. He watched me as he died. No, Majora watched me as he died. My dad was Majora. I will never forgive a fear. Secondary character randomly introduced. I will never forgive that goddamn mask. I will never forgive anyone for what happened. I had it in a chest in my basement. Fucking what? A few years back, I never even wanted to look at it. I just kept it because I wanted to sell it on eBay or something. Yet one day, a strange man came by. Oh, gee, I wonder who it was going to be. Couldn't be the mask Miyamoto. I stared him down because he came by and he asked for it. His neatly combed hair and pack of masks and developing video games but not being able to write a story to save his life. Not to mention the eerie aura that surrounded him. But he was willing to pay huge for that mask. I certainly didn't want it and needed the money for construction and the festival coming up. I sold it and he was on his way. He disappeared as strangely as he had come. These days, things are strange, especially as the festival approaches. Everyone seems on edge. All the town waiting for something we can't explain. Apparently, the masked man is in our clock tower. He shouldn't be in there, but whatever. At least a few of the locals said they've seen him in there. To really top it off, the moon is... Something's wrong. Did we have to save this to the end of the story? What was the creepy part? We're not done yet. It looked like it was getting bigger. The moon's getting bigger, you guys. Is anyone noticing the moon getting bigger? Getting closer and bigger. Oh, God. Some people say that they can see a face on it, a widened and angry expression. I mean, wait, some say they could see a face on it? Who are the people who said they couldn't see a face? Idiots? But a few times I have looked up at it at night, and I would swear that I could see Majora's blazing, horrific eyes on it. I would never keep looking at it long enough to find out if that was what I was seeing was real. I don't know if any of this is real. You know, this could all be a dream or a story or something. Ever since those decades ago, perhaps this has all been a dream. We're all, damn it, they didn't have to say it in the story. We're all asleep. Majora is the nightmare that came to life, and then the story ends. Alright. So that was a story. I'll give it that, I guess. I wanted to try it out because it didn't seem inherently goofy, and sure enough, it wasn't. Granted, I like those more, if I'm being completely honest. But, you know, change things up every once in a while. Do something that's not necessarily inherently the dumbest thing ever. That said, I couldn't help but feel like a whole lot of nothing happened in the story. I mean, I understand the overall premise. I think parts of it are even good, but I don't know. I feel like a story playing up more on the fear of the moon would be a better take, especially because the moon only became a thing at the end of the story. Where was the moon at the different parts of the story? Had Piccolo blown it up and they hadn't wished it back yet? I don't even know if they did wish it back or if they just randomly decided to re-add it, but what are you gonna do? Anyways, I hope someone enjoyed this. All 20 of you who got this video in their sub box, thank you for watching Bullshit Creepypasta Storytime. I hope you have a creepy month. And, oh no, and Slate. Welcome back, one and all, to Slate, Spooky Finger Puppet Ghost Month Edition. This is the second video in this year's line of the Spooky Finger Puppet lineup, and, you know, I must say, it went over 30 minutes, what the hell. But I hope someone enjoyed this story that was far too long, just for my tastes. Though, you know, I guess Tom held back, all things considered. It didn't go for 2 hours. But, you know, enough of that. I have social media stuff. You know, if you like what I do, you can support me on Patreon, or you can subscribe to this YouTube channel, or like the videos, and the algorithm doesn't hate me. I have a Twitter, and sometimes I have a Facebook, but not often. But that's not important, because what is important is thanking the wonderful people who support me on Patreon. I love you all, and it's gonna be a month of thanks, so hold on to your horses, cause thank you Maji, and Kiki, Erzabet, Chandler Parrish, Makella, Rage Magic Carp, Rabbit. I hope you're all doing well, by the way. Haven't had a one-on-one with a lot of you in a while. You know, everyone's busy with life, I understand, but I hope you're all doing well. But, yes, thank you, Rage Magikarp, thank you, Rabbit, Skinny720, Young Silver, Decade, Best Common Rider. I can't debate that. Geets is pretty good, though. A lot of swag going on there. Thank you, Bradley Harder, Clodek. Come watch my Twitch streams. I'm gonna stream again soon. Also, so that's a thing. That's not my name though. But thank you though. Thank you, Fernando Silva and Galad Goku. Hey, it's Brad. Lily Starflame, Michael Holder II, Nolan Billings. That's a fun last name. Cedars PhD, Static Peaches, the Epiman. Bye man. Euk, Orderly Chaos, the best kind of chaos. You know, in order. Thank you, Purin, or Jigglypuff, or Fat D, depending on where you live in the world. Thank you, A Pickle. I don't like the name. Thank you, Anal Bad. Thank you, Andrew Silverman. Thank you, an Evil Ghost. Oh no! And it's October, which means they have the home field advantage. Thank you, Angel Bane. and Astral Antonio, Butter Pecan, Captain Loser, Derek Chapman, Dez, aka Izatso, Dylan Swenson, Shadow Wolf, aka Deshaun Lewis. I'm sorry, you're somewhere on this list, but I remembered your name because I'd never forget it. Thank you, Alfrey684, and thank you, Fading Novelty Mug. That's still, God, there's something about that name. It's like, yeah, that's a mood. Thank you, Joe Martfolio and John Mayer, Joseph Almodovar, Kami Moon, Keitaro, Lenny Barks, Link, VIII, or the 8th, Nikki Layman, Orfano, The Adoptable, Painful Choice, Quack, much like my doctor, am I right? Anyways, thank you, Rad R, River Casey, R-Pie Spies. Only one of my doctors, by the way. One of them is great, the other one, there. But thank you, Sarah Salmon Colorinian, and Scarlet Robin. Hope you're doing well. Thank you, Scott Labar and Sean Cartar. Thank you, Shillick, Sir Doodles a lot. That's a good name, too. Slickster Max Tastica. Thank you, SMK and Snooper. Soft Shell, the class-changing taco. I imagine originally it's like a defensive class, and then later on, 2 swords. Dual-handed, but better than Kirito because I hate Sword Art Online. Thank you, Storm Strider and the Storm Strider household. Thank you, Wheels on the Bus Go Die Die Die. Thank you, the Club Rocker, the R9 and RE4. Got a lot to live up to in that remake. R9 and RE4, don't let us down. You're not even going to be in the game. That'd be disappointing. Thank you, Tim Klump, Trevor Marquez, Vispire, Whitman, hold on, XX, Dark Blaze, X25. If it's okay for me to just say Dark Blaze, let me know. But thank you, Zachary Alexander. I'm fine with saying the X's also. Thank you, Ludwig, and thank you, Finn the Human. That's close enough to a rhyme. Thank you, John Paul Hoare, Ragnar the Green, the runner of the Discord, because I'm afraid. And thank you, everyone who supports me on Patreon. I'll be honest, I've been doing this for a long time now, and I'm, on a regular basis, genuinely shocked anyone watches, let alone wants to help me continue doing this. So from the bottom of my heart, thank you very much. And while we're at it, let's look at see how long this has been going on for. Only almost 6 minutes, but that's okay because the video is like 32, so offset, whatever. I love you all. Thank you for everything. I hope you enjoyed this video and the rest of Spooky Finger Puppet Ghost Month. Stay safe, and until next time, watch out for all the ghosts! And check your candy, it's not safe. Bye!